Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are looking at a release by Italeri, Free French Infantry. These are World War II troops. This is set number 6189. It's in 172 scale. And very importantly, as I always say with Italeri stuff, it's War Games approved. Oh yeah, I can use it so. Anyway, this is a re-release of an old Esci set from 1982, which was basically just labelled as French soldiers. And on the Plastic Soldier Review website, it seems to have caused some upset or confusion where they stated that they couldn't really decide on what period these troops were for, which is kind of silly really, because at the end of the day they were clearly Free French troops, so I don't know what all the blue was. But anyway, let's have a look at the box first before we get into the contents as usual. So basically, as you can see there, does what it says in the tin. This is a representation of the figures contained within the box. Not a great bit of box artwork, to be honest with you. I mean, they're individually nice pieces. They seem to be taken kind of basically from a photograph, and then kind of somewhat digitally sort of I don't know, made to look like a picture or a painting, or alternatively it's a picture or a painting made to look like a photograph. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's not a brilliant piece of artwork. It wouldn't really be something that would draw me to purchase that if I was a kid. And I do remember actually having the old Esci box set in my hands back in the mid to late 90s, and I should have bought it and I didn't, and anyway I have them now, so there you go. Rest of the box, usual story with any manufacturer, just a little bit of repetition on the sides. On the back then some painting guides, which is quite nice, just a representation of again what's on the front. Very straightforward. Colour codes there for Italeri paints, which is fine because you can easily find conversion sheets online to give you whatever brand you use, which is great. And 49 unpainted figures, lovely. Usual story, not suitable for 8+, recycle, kids are bad, whatever. Excellent, no problem, that's it, that's the box, lovely. Inside the box, of course, you get your usual sort of disclaimer, don't stick these things up your nose, don't eat them, blah blah blah, etc. So that's that. Let's get into the contents. Let's have a look at this sprue first. And these guys, if you're familiar with Esci, you will know that most of the World War II range, except maybe the German Fallschirmjäger, were clearly sculpted by the same person, and they had a very definitive style. Detail was good. Could be a little quirky here and there, particularly I thought the British Commandos, but anyway, and a little bit inaccurate here and there. But again, bear in mind, take these things in context. These were released as toys as such. They weren't expecting the 7-year-old me to grow up and be 40-something-year-old me cribbing about accuracy on something that was designed around 82, 81 and released, back then as well. So, little bit of cop on there required when you're looking at these things. So what have we got? Top line here, we have a casualty figure. We'll get back to him in a sec, or the stretchers down the bottom, we'll get back to that in a second. We have one of the stretcher bearers, which is quite cool. We have an officer with his binoculars, really nice figure there. Second stretcher bearer, and we have a mortar man. Now Esci kind of renowned for poorly sculpted mortars and taking kind of shortcuts. That's not the worst. You could easily fix that up. A little bit of a trim here and there, I probably won't, but we'll think of something, we'll see. You don't get a number 2, you don't get an assistant for the mortar, unfortunately, but we'll see what we'll do. We may use one of these guys, or we may convert one of these guys. We'll see what happens there. A little further down, you have a guy here armed with a rifle. This guy looks like he's wearing American uniform with a French Adrian helmet, and he seems to be armed with what I think is possibly a Mass 36 7.5 by 54mm bolt action rifle. It's not a Lebel, it's not a Berthier, or whatever way you pronounce that, and it's certainly not an American or British issue. So for my money, I reckon that's a Mass 36. Fine rifle. About 250,000 of those manufactured. They served on the Indochina War and all the rest of it. A guy with a bazooka and a guy with a spare round. Nice to actually have a number 2 for a bazooka. I think the only other set I have that has a number 2 for a bazooka was the was it Hasegawa or something, American guys, I can't remember, but it's nice to have them, even if the projectile looks a little oversized. Guy crawling here again, you'll see there's a mix of uniforms. This is why they were denoted as Free French, because obviously the French, being in a situation where they were liberating their country from German occupation, they would kind of wear their old uniforms and carry their older weapons that they might have taken with them, Dunkirk and that kind of period, when they were getting out of France, and they were rearmed and reconstituted by American and British forces and re-equipped, but yet obviously to keep their own patriotic and national kind of flavour to things, they would have kept some of their own bits and pieces as well. And that's, it's a fact that was easily documented by photographs, and you can Google that and see that at any time. So that's basically a repetition of that line all the way down along. Here you get a guy with a Bren. Now, there was some discussion as to should he have had a Bren, should not have had a Bren. Free French forces were issued the Bren, so I mean, it's not totally inaccurate. Would have been better for him to have had the what's it called at all? The Fusil Mitrailleur model 1924, model 1924 model 29, I think it is, which is basically very similar looking to a Bren, but it's that thing down there. This guy, that was a 7.5 by 54 millimeter as well. Looks like a Bren, but isn't. Similar design, that's it. So I reckon that's what this guy is supposed to be, but the gun is, the magazine is curved to the extent that it looks like the Bren. If you look at any of the Esci Bren gunners, that's, very reminiscent of that. Having said that, the Esci Bren isn't the most accurate anyway. If you look at it there, it's not particularly well done. So, it could be that other one that I mangled the pronunciation of, the Fusil Mitrailleur. Oh God, I'd give up. I did German in school, guys. Sorry, not French. My apologies to any French speakers, native or otherwise. Here we have a stretcher. Nicely molded, actually. The figure kind of sits down into it, or lies down into it, should I say. So I'm looking forward to actually putting that together. I'll definitely use one of these. As I say, I may use the other two stretcher bearers as assistants for the mortars. We'll see how we get on with that. Detail is very good, as you can see, but it is a mix of American and kind of early war French uniforms. You can see they're nice represented actually in the stretcher bearers, that you have the earlier war variant here with the great coat, the Adrian helmet. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly anyway. And then you have kind of the more American style equipped chap here on the other side. So that's fair enough. That is a true enough representation. And you have your bazooka, as we mentioned. So the other sprue is this one. Again, like I said, sometimes quirky poses. Guy with a Thompson here. Looks like he's wearing the Adrian helmet. Has a Thompson. And he's running at a weird angle. They did this in several of their releases. I don't know why that is. It just looks really strange. But what I might do is I may trim the head and just point it in a direction. Don't know. Maybe I won't. It's consequential, really, but it just looks a bit weird. Guy with a Thompson. Beret, I think, is over the is that over the wrong side of his eye. The French were that the other way around in comparison to everybody else. So anyway, it's fair enough. The French had a commando battalion, at least, I think, with British forces. Very interesting story. You can Google that as well. And yeah, that would match in well with those guys. But it's a guy with a Thompson, so looks pretty cool. Guy again here with that Mass 36, kind of just advancing. Again, a guy standing and firing. Seems to have the American uniform, the French helmet and French rifle, which is pretty cool. Nice mix and match effort going on there. Similarly here as well. And that line is repeated there and there, as you can see, and there. This lad here, as we mentioned earlier, he is the Mass 36. Nice little kind of a pose there. I thought maybe he was affixing a rifle grenade, but isn't. He's just kind of holding it in a sort of a ready position. I think again, Plastic Soldier Company were critical of this. Or not Plastic Soldier Company, Plastic Soldier Review were critical of this pose, and it looked a little bit Napoleonic, that he was waiting to take on cavalry or something. He could also just be, hiding behind a hedge or something, or a wall. So I don't know where they were going with that. Again, this kind of weird-looking guy. And repeated that, and our Bren gunner and the stretcher. So that's basically that. Not an awful lot of poses, it has to be said. But nice, nice crisp sculpt on them. In fairness, nice kind of, I won't say heavy duty plastic. It's a little bit tougher than some of the Esci stuff for sure. It's a bit harder, has to be said, but it's not too hard. It's a kind of a medium to hard would be the way to put that. But a nice set of figures. As I say, released in '82 by Esci, and a nice mix of the 39 to 18 style, or sorry, 1939 style uniform, which was similar to the 1918, 14-18 war kind of style uniform. The Adrian helmet, the great coat, of course. And nice to see the French Mass 36 in there, and that other light machine gun, the name of which I mangled out. It does look like a brand, to be fair. No representation of the, what was that other rifle called, the Berthier, which I think was a 8x50mm caliber, and there was the older Lebel rifle, which was I want to say 8mm as well, but they would have turned up in World War II also, but they just have the what looks like the Mass 36, so that's those guys. What I am going to do with these, because I'm putting together a battalion of them for rapid fire as per usual, is I'm going to incorporate some of the Esci US soldiers into it, because obviously these guys are equipped with American equipment, but there isn't a huge amount of poses. I do happen to have, and we'll be doing a review at some point, some of these guys, which are the Esci US soldiers, and are sculpted by the same individual. The style is exactly the same, so they will match in quite nicely there. That's just a guy with a grease gun, and then we have a guy with a rifle. So, you know, the sculpt is very, very similar, as you can see. Style-wise, it's kind of a dark plastic, so I'm not sure how that's showing up on camera there for you guys, but I'm pretty sure that'll work out quite well. Also, there was no heavy machine gun. There was the light machine gun there, so we will use probably one of these guys here for that. And we have, what else? There's a few other figures in that range. We won't go all the way and give a full review on those just yet, because I'm kind of working on those. There's one or two I have painted previously. There's a guy with what's that, a mine detector, so we might incorporate one or two of those guys in. And there's also an alternate option for the mortar. That one does come with a number 2 or an assistant, so that's nice. We'll just compare that to the other one there. So it's just nice to have a little bit of variance in the battalion, so I can mix and match a little bit. So you can see there, that's pretty quite cool. And there's another machine gun, which is the 30 caliber Browning. Is that 19? I think, and 1919 A1 or something, or A2, something like that. So that guy can mix and match in there as well. So I'm looking forward to getting a few of those worked into the battalion, because I think it'll look pretty cool when you have the French guys, you know, from this particular set, kind of augmented with the other guys as well. So what I'll do is, lads, I will tip on and get these painted, and we'll pop back in the second half of the video for a quick roundup, let you know how I got on, let you see how they work out with those other Esci soldiers, the US guys, and we'll talk to you then. So stay right there, I'll be right back. Hey guys, and welcome back to the second part of the video. As you can see there, I've returned with a couple of the painted figures. So right in the center there is the officer. He has his Adrian helmet on, and he has his pistol on his hip, and he's looking at his binoculars in a kind of a very traditional officer type pose. So that's him. Basically, I just gave him a coat of Humbrol enamels. I'll give you the paint numbers later. A bit of dry brushing and a bit of Northern oil over him just to finish him off. As I say, not the greatest painter here, but just do it for the fun. There you go, that's what I do. I just use the old Humbrols and bits and pieces, so that's my disclaimer. Next to him we have the guy with the Thompson. I kind of like this guy, even though the pose, it seems a little awkward. You might notice there as well, I mix and match a small bit with the colours. I use some green in the pants sometimes, and just the kind of the brown on the uniform battle dress as well. So yeah, a nice little pose in fairness. Could have been better, I suppose, but not the worst really, to be fair. So nice little bit of detail in the back there. He's got a kind of an ammo pouch, and he's got his Thompson in there in the front as well. So that's that guy. Who else we got? We got this guy kind of with the rifle, and this guy also with the rifle in sort of a ready pose. Guy with the rifle firing is quite a nice figure actually. He's kind of animated in that. Nice bit of detail too. He's got his pouches around his waist. On the back then he has, what have we got? He's got his backpack, his water canteen, things of that nature. Bayonet and entrenching tool as well, I think. So, you know, all in all, pretty decent figure. The other guy there is compatriot, sort of in a ready position. This guy, again, kind of one of those Esci sort of slightly awkward poses, but looks okay in fairness. I also incorporated him with the mortar as well. I'll show you that in a moment. So that's that guy. Another sort of a ready pose there is this chap here, which I quite like. As I say, he looks like he's kind of waiting behind a hedge or a wall or whatever. Just ready for combat. Could be reloading his rifle as well. Nice little figure in fairness. As you can see, he's kind of has the tan kind of coloured pants as well as the jacket. Whereas I say some of them I did a little bit of mix and match just to kind of get that sort of multi-uniform sort of composite uniform sort of impression. This guy again just kind of basically ambling along, walking along, doing his thing. Again, just a fairly straightforward pose, handy, useful, utilitarian pose. In fairness, kind of they look well when they're on the old war games table. So, you know, nice little figure. Bit of US gear in the back there, as you can see. He's got the US canteen and possibly entrenching tool and webbing system, but he's got the French rifle and French helmet, which I think is pretty cool as well. And here we have this guy who is sort of one of those traditional weird Esci running poses, because yeah, we all run like that, sort of looking not in direction, we're running sideways, slanted at a weird angle. I don't know, but anyway, still at the end of the day, it's a practical figure. He seems okay, really, in fairness. Nice little bit of detail on them too as well, so can't really fault it. Just looks a bit weird. But that's him, so I quite like those. So what else have we got here? Okay, let's have a look at some of the crew-served weapons, such as the MGs and mortars and things like that. We'll talk you through what we did with some of those. Okay, so the first crew-served weapon we're looking at here is the bazooka. Again, I think that's probably a slightly inaccurate bazooka, but it gets the impression across. As I said earlier, bear in mind these things were released as toys rather than very, very highly accurate models like we'd expect today. They were released in the early 80s, so to be fair, the old game has changed a little bit since, so from that perspective we'd expect a bit more as regards detail and accuracy, but still pretty cool figures, I have to say. Guy at the back with the spare round, or the loader basically, looks pretty cool. The round might be a little bit large there, but I'd say it gets the old impression across, and it's, I just think it's quite nice. It's always great to have a number 2 for a bazooka or a Panzerschreck or a Piat or whatever, and it's just nice to have them in that set. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with them, in fairness. As I say, I don't get too hung up about these things unless they're completely and utterly dementedly inaccurate. The mortar there, again, I used the 2 mortars. I didn't use the one from the other set, the American set. I decided I'd go with using the crawling infantryman from the French set and the mortarman from the French set as well. Basically because I do rapid fire and you use the 50 and the 81mm mortars, so to designate between the two I just used the same figure, but I used the number 2 crewman there. In that case I used the guy lying down, and I used a different guy in the case of who's going to represent my 80mm or 81mm mortar, and basically I just write, I haven't done it yet, but I just write 50 or 81 on the bottom of them just to designate. Really, it's just handy from that perspective on the old war games table. So that's basically what would be my 50mm mortar, I suppose, from a war games perspective. This then would be the larger one. As you can see there, I've just used that kind of NCO type figure. That's what I termed them anyway. But the guy with the rifle just sort of in the ready position there, and it kind of looks like he's incorporating himself into the crew of that mortar. So that's basically what I have him there for, really, is what it boils down to. And the old mortars are handy to have from a war games perspective. As you know, a lot of the rules will make it allow for certain things to do with mortars, so that's handy to have too. Now we also have the Bren gunner here in the prone position. Just put him in here. pretty straightforward. It's a Bren gunner, probably supposed to be that French light machine gun, but at the same time it does the job, gets the message across, so I can't really fault that. You know, nice little figure. So that's that guy. What else have we got there? Also did the, just as a matter of interest, I did these guys, which I was going to actually use those guys as a crewman for maybe an anti-tank gun or something like that, and just, you know, chop and change them a small little bit, take off the arms and reposition them or something. But I just kind of liked that stretcher bearer sort of a thing. I don't normally use those, but yeah, I just kind of liked it. That was cool. So I did up. There was 2 of those sets in the box, so I actually utilised the 2 of them really, and I was quite happy with that. So that's the stretcher guys. Now you remember I was saying earlier about incorporating some of the Esci American Infantry into this because of the sculpt style and that. I did now, but I didn't do as many as I would have initially thought I would have, if that makes sense. So basically what I did was I didn't use any of the infantry themselves other than the 30 cal machine guns and flamethrower and mine detector, which I'll show you now, because basically I didn't really need the numbers to make up the figures. So there are the mortar and mine detector from the American Infantry range, or set should I say, done in the same colouring as their French compatriots, and basically just a fairly straightforward little figures there. Not sure how accurate the mine detector is to any historical piece, although the flamethrower looks relatively accurate as well. Cannot think of the designation for that flamethrower, but it does look quite accurate to one used by the US forces in the Second World War period. So what else have we got there? Oh yeah, we used the 30 cal in the kind of prone position. Just move him over here for you. As you can see there, just kind of stand it up on its edge. So there we have a guy from the French set, quite obviously, and the guy from the American Infantry set there. I'll probably get a little ammo box or something and just drop it in between the 2 of them just to give it a little bit of extra detail there once I finish flocking that properly. But yeah, I'm quite happy with that. That'll do the job quite nicely, thank you very much. So happy out with that. And last but not least, because in rapid fire you'd have to have a heavy machine gun element, 30 cal in the tripod mounted variant. There you go, there you have the American infantryman from that American infantry range with the 30 cal, and again operating as number 2, the French guy in the prone position, which is quite nice. So basically that's that, guys. That's the Free French Infantry. Colours used, the kind of green, shall we say, for the pants and that kind of thing was mainly 86 from Humbrol matte enamels. The tan was 119. That's kind of the 2 main colours that were used there. I did use 66 for the helmets. These are again are all Humbrol enamel colours. And then just your basic, I think I used 113 or something for any browns, and then the webbing was Humbrol 72. That was basically it. As I say, these conversion sheets are available online, so it's easy enough to chop and change. So that's basically it, guys. That is the Free French by Italeri, re-released not so long ago. As I say, I don't normally pick up new sets anymore because I have so many things in the attic from years ago that I just simply don't need to, really. I have plenty of things to be going on with at the moment, so new stuff isn't really a requirement. The only reason I picked these up was because I should have picked them up years ago in the Esci format, and I didn't, and I was kicking myself ever since, and now I have them, and they'll be used in rapid fire one of the days. So that's it, guys. If you'd like and subscribe, thank you for sticking with the video. I know this is a long one, and we will get back to you with a new video in the not too distant future. All the best, take care, bye bye.